Welcome back to a special Disney collaboration episode of Unknown Fantasy Origins, the show where we explore the backstories behind concepts seen in TV, film, and gaming. Viewer discretion is advised. Stories from the real world are more disturbing than they appear on TV. Back in 2003, Walt Disney Pictures produced a feature film starring Eddie Murphy called
The Haunted Mansion, based on the famous attraction in Disney theme parks with the same name. This haunted house attraction can be found not just in Disneyland, but in Disney parks around the world. Between each park, the backstories vary, but they all seem to carry a common theme: a bride.
The closest theme park to its most original Bride in the Attic story remains
In Tokyo Disneyland, in their version of the Haunted Mansion. While the other brides have been updated and reworked, the original bride was a skeletal corpse holding a bouquet and a candle in her hands. You can hear her heart beating and see it glowing in the darkness. Sadly, this character appears in the comics and game versions, but not the movie. Also missing from the movie version was her groom, the famous Hatbox Ghost character. He has disappeared and reappeared in the ride, becoming a part of the new bride storyline. Guillermo del Toro has stated that this character is integral to his remake of the Haunted Mansion he is currently writing.
But where did the original concept of the bride begin?
Turns out the bride character was based on the famous haunting of the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall, a legend dating back to the 1800s. Ken Anderson was an animator and Imagineer who used this story as inspiration for the concept inside the Haunted Mansion ride.
Let's take a look at the real story behind Tokyo Disneyland's Haunted Mansion Bride.
September 19, 1936, Captain Hubert Purvan, a photographer from London who worked for Country Life magazine, was taking pictures at Raynham Hall for an article. Purvan and his assistant had taken a photograph of the main staircase and were in the process of setting up another shot when they saw a vaporous form in the shape of a woman move downwards towards them. Hurriedly, they snapped a picture taking the famous image that would appear in the magazine along with an account of what happened. People, as you would expect, were skeptical. While the negative had not been tampered with, some believed either there was a grease stain on the lens or there was an accidental double exposure, a result where one picture superimposes over another while taking the picture. A magician even showed a way to duplicate the picture by covering himself with a sheet inside the Magic Castle in Hollywood. Some even found the image to be extremely similar to a Virgin Mary statue you'd find in any Catholic church that could be used for superimposing.
While this account was well talked about, the legend stated that this ghost was that of Lady Dorothy Walpole. She was the sister of Robert Walpole, who is regarded as the first Prime Minister of Great Britain. Dorothy was married to Charles Townshend, who was notoriously known for his temper. Charles soon discovered Dorothy was cheating on him with Lord Wharton, a charming politician known for his political ability but also his immoral lifestyle. Charles locked her in her rooms at Raynham Hall as punishment. Rumors spread that he had killed her or faked her death to keep her hidden away. Her friend Mary tried to convince her to leave, to stay a few days, but Charles wouldn't even let her leave to see her own children. She stayed in Raynham Hall until she died in 1726 of smallpox. The first sighting of Dorothy was Christmas 1835 at the Hall. Lord Townshend would invite guests over for parties, and two men spotted a brown lady one night as they headed to bed. In particular, the dated brown dress she wore. One of the men loftus saw her again, drawn to her empty, dark sockets in her glowing face. This sighting led many of the staff to leave and never return.
A year later, an author requested to spend the night in the haunted room at the Hall to prove his theory that the stories were made up to keep people away from the area. He slept beneath her portrait for 2 nights straight, with a pistol under his head waiting for something to happen.
On his third and final night, as he got ready for bed, there was a knock at the door. 2 young men were standing there asking him to come look at a gun that they had just gotten. He was happy to oblige. As he left, he grabbed his own gun, jokingly, in case the spirit came by. After inspecting the new gun, he decided to go back to bed. and the two young men decided to walk him back to his room.
The hallway was dark, the candles put out for the night. While walking, a glimmer of a lamp started to glow and move toward them. One of the men thought it was a woman visiting the nursery. Realizing he was not dressed in proper attire, the author stepped aside to conceal himself in front of the lady's presence, and the others followed suit. He could see her approaching through the crack in the door and was able to recognize her costume and her figure from the portrait he had slept under. He slowly drew his gun. The figure stopped. She held the lamp up to her face to show a wild grin looking back at him. Angry, the author jumped out and shot the figure right in the face.
The figure disappeared, and the bullet lodged itself in the doorway behind where she had been standing. The author never attempted to find her again. So do you think the ghost of Dorothy Walpole is real? Do you believe the picture of the brown lady is a forgery? Or is all this a conspiracy to keep people away, or invite them to stay the night at Raynham Hall? Whether you believe or not is up to you. Whether you've learned something today is up to me. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Unknown Fantasy Origins. My name is Christy A. Bell, and this was the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. Just remember,
when hinges creak in doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds each through the halls, whenever candlelights flicker where the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight. The next episode in this collaboration series is Disney Geek 101, covering Disneyland Paris and their Haunted Mansion attraction, Phantom Manor. Click the button on the screen or the playlist in the description below. You can also find links to everyone who participated in this collaboration: Disneyland Dude, Mouse Talk, Disney Geek 101, and Brandon Goes Raw. You do not want to miss what's next.